Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. NFL Draft 2024, exploring possible Steelers draft day scenarios. It's time for a fun rendition of the what if game. In this piece, I'm going to dive into various scenarios that could play out before the Steelers select at pick 20. What if a top wide receiver falls to them? How about if a certain Georgia offensive tackle is off the board? And could a trade down be a possibility? General Manager Omar Khan will have his staff prepared for anything and everything. Let's see how things could potentially play out. You all know by now that Mims is probably the betting favorite to land in the Steel City. Pittsburgh is enamored with the idea of pairing him with O.T. Broderick Jones to provide stability to their tackle spots with enormous upside. This draft class is loaded with offensive line talent, and I fully anticipate that Oregon State right tackle Talys Fuege, Alabama tackle J.C. Latham, and Washington guard/tackle Troy Fautanu could all be off the board by pick 20. But what if Mims is snatched up by the Bengals at pick 18? If the Steelers are dead set on taking a lineman with their first selection, which could be the case, this is an opportunity to trade down. A quarterback-needy team such as the New York Giants could trade picks 39 and 47 to move up and draft someone like Oregon quarterback Bo Nix. That would leave the Steelers with 3 picks in the top 51, and the ability to add 3 impact players. Something that could look like this: pick 39, Kool-Aid McKinstry, DB, Alabama; pick 47, Zach Frazier, C, West Virginia; pick 51, Ricky Pearsall, WR, Florida. Heck, even if Mims is on the board, this is a scenario that would likely knock our socks off. I'll start by saying this: Thomas Jr. is a true number 1 caliber NFL receiver and should be considered in the top tier of the class. In my opinion, there is a drop-off after Thomas Jr., with Texas wide receiver Adonai Mitchell being the only other pass catcher in consideration in the middle to the late first round. If Thomas Jr. is available in the 15 to 19 pick range, the Steelers should consider jumping up a few spots to land a major weapon that would complement George Pickens beautifully. And they certainly wouldn't need to mortgage their entire draft. Pittsburgh moved up 3 spots last year to take Jones, and only had to part with pick 120, a 4th-round choice, to do so. The Steelers acquired pick 98, 3rd round, from the Philadelphia Eagles in the Kenny Pickett trade, so pick 119, 4th round, could be expendable in a move like this. I'd imagine that the black and gold will prioritize offensive line ahead of corner in this draft, but if Toledo's Quinyon Mitchell or Alabama's Terrion Arnold are still on the board, that'd be an excellent problem to have. The Steelers met with Arnold at the Combine and also flew out multiple members of the organization to watch him, and many others, up close at Alabama's Pro Day. There is certainly interest there. And Mitchell is simply can't miss. In this case, the Steelers could potentially bypass Mims or Duke offensive lineman Graham Barton for an upgrade in the secondary. Clemson DB Nate Higgins could also be of interest, as he recently made a stop in the Steel City for a top 30 visit, and don't forget Iowa's Cooper DeJean, who recently tested out of this world at his pro day. To summarize, if there is a player on the board that Pittsburgh covets, you better believe they will go and get him. And if they are blown away by an offer to move back, this class is deep enough that they can still find multiple starters on day 2. If this offseason is any indication, we should expect the unexpected when it comes to Khan and his staff. Amarius Mims would mean a lot to reunite with Georgia teammates on Steelers. Everyone and their mother is mocking Georgia offensive tackle Amarius Mims to the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 20 in the 2024 NFL Draft. And with good reason. Pittsburgh needs a tackle, and taking Mims would help them move Broderick Jones to his natural spot at left tackle while they slide Mims in on the right side. Speaking of Jones, Mims was asked about the possibility of reuniting with his former Georgia teammates Jones and Darnell Washington at his pro day. "It would mean a lot," Mims said. "Just reuniting with the Georgia guys again. Guys like Darnell, of course, Broderick and George Pickens. We've got a bond, and it would be great spending however much time I can possible with them. Should Mims be selected, he would make up the fourth Steelers offensive player to come out of Georgia in the last 3 drafts. The Steelers took Pickens in the second round in 2022, and followed that up by trading up for Jones in the first round of 2023 and taking Washington in the third round, as well. Steelers projected to sign rival WR to $99.7 million contract in 2025. The Pittsburgh Steelers are thin at wide receiver. There are few options remaining in NFL free agency, so the Steelers will likely wait until perhaps next year to make a big splash signing at wideout. If that becomes the team's plan, Higgins could be an intriguing option. At least Bleacher Report's Gary Davenport argued that he would be. Davenport predicted the Steelers to sign Higgins to a 4-year contract worth $99.7 million during 2025 free agency. The Bengals placed the franchise tag on Higgins this offseason. Cincinnati could still trade Higgins, but Davenport argued the Bengals won't do that because the return on veteran receivers in trades this offseason has been low. If Higgins departs in free agency next year, the Bengals will receive a third-round compensatory selection in 2026. Higgins posted 42 catches for 656 yards and 5 touchdowns in 2023. While those were career lows, he only played in 12 games because of injuries and averaged a career-high 15.6 yards per catch. In 4 NFL seasons, Higgins has caught 257 passes for 3,684 yards and 24 touchdowns in 58 games. He's averaged 95.8 receiving yards per game and nearly 18 yards per catch in 6 contests against the Steelers. Under the franchise tag, Higgins and the Bengals have until July 15 to agree to a long-term deal. If the two sides do not agree to terms, Higgins will play on the franchise tag, which is worth $21.816 million for the 2024 season. The Bengals lost veteran wide receiver Tyler Boyd to free agency this offseason. So, it was vital for Cincinnati to retain Higgins. But Cincinnati locking Higgins into a long-term deal seems unlikely. Last year, the Bengals gave quarterback Joe Burrow a contract with an NFL record $55 million average annual salary. Additionally, like Higgins, fellow wide receiver Ja'Marr Chase needs a new deal. Davenport predicted the Bengals to sign Chase to a 4-year, $133.5 million contract. After Chase's big deal, Cincinnati may not want to sign Higgins to an expensive extension. It will also not be cost-effective to place the franchise tag on Higgins a second straight year. Unless the Bengals sign Higgins to a long-term deal before July 15, he's likely to become a free agent in 2025. It's hard to predict exactly what an NFL team might do in a year. 1 year ago, the Steelers appeared poised to build their offense around young quarterback Kenny Pickett, and that's obviously changed. But as of April 2024, the Steelers need more weapons at wide receiver. After trading Deontay Johnson to the Carolina Panthers at the beginning of NFL free agency, George Pickens became the only receiver on Pittsburgh's roster who had at least 210 receiving yards last season. Since trading Johnson, the Steelers signed veteran wideouts Van Jefferson and Quez Watkins. But neither receiver had 210 yards in 2023. With Higgins, the Steelers would be adding an experienced pass catcher who could easily slide into the number 2 role behind Pickens. The top 3 receivers currently behind Pickens on the Pittsburgh depth chart, Jefferson, Watkins, and Calvin Austin 3 combined for 531 receiving yards during 2023. Higgins produced more in an injury-filled 2023 season. The potential biggest obstacle to the Steelers signing Higgins could be the same issue the Bengals are expected to experience. Pickens' rookie contract expires after the 2025 season. The Steelers may have to be prudent at receiver next offseason if they plan to re-sign Pickens. And you, Fan, what do you think of the situation of Higgins? Leave your opinion in the comments.